When I say the word rogue trader, it usually gives you an idea of somebody going around getting goods and selling them, or a British TV show that then became Watch Dogs if you are from Britain. But today we're talking about Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, a CRPG from the team at Pathfinder, or the Pathfinder devs Owlcat Games. These guys are premium when it comes to making these types of games, and today I wanted to talk about what I learned from playing the Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader Alpha. So to start off the video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the game itself and wanted to thank the team over at Dead Good Media for sending me a copy of the game. I wasn't able to jump into the alpha straight away purely because I was ill over the Christmas period, but I did get a chance to play roughly 8 or 9 hours or so of the alpha, and I wanted to give you an idea of what the game actually is and my experience with it. The first thing I learned from the alpha, which is probably going to be transferred over to the main game, is the initial creation of your character. Although you don't get to actually create your character in the beginning of this, you do get to give them a backstory because you start in Act 2 in the alpha, compared to starting right at the beginning of the game. So you already have a lot of predetermined choices that you'll have to make alongside stats and skills. You get to go through a bunch of different ones, and it's really awesome. So then once you've done that, you'll jump straight into the first quest. Now, the thing that you need to know about CRPGs is another thing that I learned is there's a lot of reading. You need to pay attention to what's on screen. So it's a lot slower and a lot more you have to process a lot more information than you would in a normal RPG if you're just coming into this series for the first time, because I have not experienced many CRPGs before. I've experienced some in the forms of watching them, but I know that this is the type of game that has a lot of reading. You need to take into consideration what is being said. Let's now talk about ground combat, because combat is split into two parts. There's ground combat and there's also space combat. Ground combat is pretty standard for most RPGs that I've played before. You will have movement points, action points. In this game, you can hit other enemies. You have a chance to hit them instead of just being a dedicated hit that you would have in games that I've played previously. But also there's a chance that you could miss the target and actually hit an enemy behind them. And on top of this, you do have a chance to hit your own teammates as well. So you need to be able to factor that in. And another fun fact is that your enemies can actually hit each other as well, so there's just a lot of carnage going on, so it's a lot of fun. The other thing that you need to know about the system is the difference between movement points and action points. Movement points in this game are used up when you decide to use an action point, so you want to make sure that you're moving first to get all of your movement out of the way and then jump into your actions that you want to do. Purely because I learned this in the first couple of encounters, and I was like, well, why is that this? Why can't I do anything after compared to what I have done previously when it comes to AP and movement points and such? But once you get the hang of it, once you get handed the momentum system, which is essentially the more that you do, the more actions you do, the more enemies you hurt and kill, you gain momentum, which allows you to perform heroic acts. There's one that was especially good with the Sister of Battle, where when you activate it, you're able to continually fire shots off without actually using any AP, which was a lot of fun because it allowed me to take out a lot of enemies. This also plays off the fact that there's also attack of opportunities. Psychers have the perils of the warp, which if you do too many damages, there'll also be a random effect that can happen to them, so you need to make sure that you keep that in line. There's different buffs and Medicae that you can have to keep your teammates alive. Also, there's pushback abilities. I don't want to go too deep into it because I enjoyed the combat system here. It was a challenge in the beginning. A lot of the time, though, I spent was learning stats, which I'll talk about in just a moment, because that's where the main bulk of figuring out how much damage you're going to do, increasing your chance. It is a little bit frustrating when you can't hit 100% of your shots, but the thing that is really cool about that system, which I haven't experienced for quite a while, is I had a shot with my sniper that was a 10% chance to hit, and I hit and killed the enemy, and that's just a really nice feeling to roll into. As for space combat, which is something that is completely new to me, which I really liked about this, is that you needed to maneuver your spaceship around. You had port side and starboard side that you'd be able to do a lot of damage with. It wasn't just a simple click in one direction and you would move in that direction. You have to do circles and such. And I also had the ability to put shields up in different directions, which is really cool. The space combat system is a lot easier than I think I expected compared to the regular combat system, but I had a lot of fun with it either way. I won't go too deep into the rogue trader aspects of the game, because when you get loot off enemies, you can put them into cargo, sell them off, that type of thing. And I won't really go too much into the companion side of things, because you get 6 companions to start, and then they all have different abilities, and then you can also get an additional 2 more of them as you play later through the alpha. And I don't know how many companions they're going to be in the full game and how you acquire them in the beginning, because it is still an alpha. That's a very typical in a lot of RPGs, but in this game they do play a factor a lot more, and it took me a while to understand what I needed to do. So it went off a D100 system, so you need to roll the value of a stat with available bonuses and such to pass certain checks and things. And the stats that are in the game are weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, agility, intelligence, perception, willpower, and fellowship. I won't go through every single one of them. I just spent a lot of time looking at these so I could understand what they do. And the neat thing about this game is they have the ability, when you hover over things, it explains it for you. So if you are new to the systems or you're new to a CRPG, you'll be able to pick up certain things as well. And another really important thing that's besides of the stats is that in dialogue, you can hover over certain key words that are highlighted and it will give you a description of them, i.e. it would come up with the God Emperor of Mankind, and you could click on the Emperor and it would tell you a little bit about them, like the All Hail the Beautiful Emperor, and tell you what Xenos are and all this different stuff, which was really neat. But that's everything that I learned from playing the game and obviously understanding it all. But what's my thoughts on this? I don't really know what to say when it comes to it being an alpha. It is a little bit jarring jumping into an alpha when you are in Act 2. I didn't want to play too far into it because I wanted to be able to continue playing the game, but I didn't know how far I'd be able to go into it, and I'd love to start from the beginning so I can understand what I want to do, set up all of my characters in the right way. And I can definitely tell a lot of love, a lot of time for the environments, the animations of all of the characters, the dialogue that's been scripted out. Everything that has been put into this game is been done with a lot of love. And even if it starts off with bugs and it has a few issues and stuff, I know from the history of Owlcat, they always work on their games to make them even better. This is from me keeping up with a bunch of the CRPGs that they've made before with the Pathfinder series. I know that they continually improve upon their games, and they've got new DLC coming out for another Pathfinder game, but I really enjoyed this. Whether or not I would recommend this to like new players to an RPG, I think this is a big jump into the deep end for a lot of people. But if you are an RPG fan and you are familiar with a lot of those systems, then I would highly recommend that you jump into this, even in the alpha to begin with, or wait and keep up to date with this game when it goes into beta, or even when it goes into a little bit more of an early access, and then you can play through the game a little bit more. And then I'm sure the full launch will be sometime in the next year or so, because that's how they usually do things. And I'm excited to see what they've got next. If I try the beta out, if I've got time to add a little bit of extra time over this January period to try out the game, which is why I'm making this video now for you. But yeah, I had a good time with Rogue Trader. Hopefully, if you have played the alpha, let me know down in the comment section. And if you're excited to see more games from the Warhammer 40k universe, even just more RPGs that are like this. If you're an RPG fan, let me know your thoughts on this too. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video, please like the video, turn on the notification bell to be notified when I bring out more videos, subscribe if you're new, and turn on the notification bell as always. This has been Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.